Okay, for this project, I'm going to focus on a couple different methods that you can use if you're not quite comfortable working straight from the tablet. These are options that you can do if you want to first draw it on paper with pencil, and then you can just scan it into the computer. So what you're going to do is, first off, you're just going to get your line work and just scan into the computer. You can take a picture of it and transfer it from your phone to your computer, whatever. Just get your line work opened up in Photoshop. Then you're going to find the adjustment buttons. That's going to be the circle that's filled in halfway. You're going to click on that, and then you're going to select black and white. Now, the color we want to get rid of is this light blue color, so that's cyan. So I'm going to grab the slider for the cyan and kind of move it, and you'll see that as I move to the right, it gets lighter, and as I move to the left, it gets darker. Now, I don't want to go all the way to the right, so I'm kind of going to find a happy middle ground, because if I blast it all the way to the end, then they'll turn pure white and you can still see them. Next, you're going to go back to that adjustments button, and you're going to find the levels adjustment mask. And you're going to get this pop-out menu here. This first one here is going to control your blacks and your dark colors. This second one is going to control your grays, and then this last one controls your whites. You just kind of move that around until you get a nice dark color on your line work, and you get your whites fairly flat. Now you'll notice that even though we move these sliders around, there's still a bunch of smudging and sketch marks and whatnot left on the page. I'll show you how to fix that here in a second. First though, I'm just going to go and grab my crop tool, and I'm going to crop my image a bit just to get rid of the spiral bound in the edge of the page down here. I won't worry about the holes right now because we can get rid of those the same way we get rid of the smudging. Then once I'm finished with the crop tool, I just hit the check mark or hit enter and it'll go away. So next I'm going to select my bottom layer. That'll be the image that we opened up with. And then I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to find a place on the page that's pure white or close to it. And the reason we're doing this rather than just using the default white on Photoshop is because even though our paper looks white, it could be off-white. And if we were to put pure white down, then it might create some splotchiness and whatnot and won't blend in as well. So that's why we're using the eyedropper to pick up a similar white. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my brush tool, and I'm just going to go in and start painting in over the smudges. And you just do this just throughout the page, and you can also use it to kind of clean up your sketch lines to make them more solid. And you just go through and just keep painting over them. I can also use this method to get rid of the holes in the page over here in the corner. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I get something that looks like this. So now that I have a clean page of my line work, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to change its blending option to multiply. What that is going to allow me to do is when I go in to color my page, is the color will show up on the white, but it will let the black show through so I can still see my line art. And from there on, I can just kind of treat it as a regular art project, and I can go in and just start coloring it and shading and adding all the effects I want. And these blending options come in handy for not just doing the line work side of things. You can also create new layers for like your shades and your highlights, and you can set those to different blending options to create different effects. For instance, on mine you can see I set this layer to divide and this layer to hard light, and you can kind of see what effect that creates. So the second option you have of combining your traditional work with your digital work is, first we're going to start off with Illustrator, and you're just going to open up that scan we had in the program. And first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to open up your layers, and you're going to lock this layer because we don't want to edit this or mess with it. And we're going to create a new layer. And then I'm going to use my blob brush, and I'm going to make sure that I have my pressure settings and size set right. And then what I can do is I can just start tracing over the line work. And what this will help us do is create cleaner lines, and they won't be as sketchy, even because you could see that on the last version, even when we cleaned it up, you could still kind of tell that they were pencil sketches. So this way we can create digital lines that are cleaner, crisper, and it'll make coloring a little easier. You can also see that if there was something in the sketch that I decide I don't like the tongue here, I can go ahead and fix that in this step as well. Something you're going to want to watch out for when you're doing your outlines is to make sure that you've closed all of the gaps, because if you have gaps between parts, if you don't want gaps, when we go to use our paint bucket tool later, it will go through that gap and fill out the rest of the shape, and you'll have to go in and color it manually. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just turn off the layer that has our image on it, and I'm going to go to File and Export. Now in newer versions of Illustrator, you can just select whatever you want, and you can go to File, Export Selection. And what we're going to do is make sure you save it as a PNG, and then we're going to open that up in Photoshop. Next, what I'm doing is I'm using my crop tool to kind of give my line work some breathing room. I'm just expanding my page here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this line layer, and what you do to do that is you grab the layer, drag it down to the new layer button, and it should duplicate it. Now we don't want to touch this top layer here, so we're going to go ahead and lock that. And then we're going to go down to this bottom layer, grab our paint bucket tool. If you can't find that, it's going to be underneath your gradient tool. Just right click and it should pop out. So grab your paint bucket tool, pick whatever color you want to use, and you can just go in and start filling things in. You might have to kind of double tap to get it to spread all the way out to the edges. And there are some parts where you'll have to go in with a brush and just kind of fix it up. Like you can see here, it didn't quite go all the way to the little bitty corners here, so I'm just going to use my brush tool, just kind of fill those in. And then from there, it's just a regular coloring. You just fill in and paint however you want it to look. You can go in, add your background, add your shading, your highlights. And eventually you should end up with two products that look like this. One was we just drew straight onto the scanned image, and you kind of get this sketchy pencil line work. And the other one, we opened up Illustrator and created our line work in that, so the lines are a lot crisper and cleaner. And that's the end of our project for this round.